There's a lot of action going on today, so I want to make sure you guys get to see a lot of different things. And whoever wants to volunteer to do some more today, I'll put you to work. So Hahn Family, so we take you through the family. We have Philip, Nikki, Gabi, and Caroline. So matriarch and patriarch right in the middle there. Recently we did lose Nikki earlier this year, but his son Philip on the far left over there did take over the business about 4 or 5 years ago. So we have our second generation online. Very excited about that. So we are family run, family owned. Philip, as well as our president, our vice president, may help basically make these big decision process environment, things of that sort for us. So with that, the last couple years we really have been growing the business. As you know, the wine industry doesn't make a few bucks or a couple bucks for the first couple of years, and then once you start really doing well, if not expanding, reinvesting into the vineyards and the business, that's when we get to start expanding. So with that, Gabi and Philip originally, they wanted to retire into something that they could pass along to their children. They did very well in Swiss banking, and so with that they actually traveled the world for about 4 or 5 years looking for a region that wasn't necessarily quite developed yet, because they wanted to get into wine. And so with that, this is kind of Nikki's project. This is his passion. Whereas Gabi, she's actually more of a humanitarian animal lover, and she's got a fully funded, it's called the Mugi Ranch. It's a ranch out in Kenya, and she bought a 500,000 acre ranch out there. And she has a wildlife preservatory sanctuary out that way. So she's got a fun-filled side. She does a lot of artwork to sustain that area. You're welcome to go take a peek. But Nikki, this was his passion project for his family. So when he bought the property in the later part of the 70s, it was kind of he gave up of a sense. He was traveling the world for about 3 or 4 years, and they actually vacationed out here in Monterey for a couple of months out of the year, and he put 2 and 2 together about the wind. And I'm sure you're hearing a lot about the wind in Santa Lucia Highlands, but Monterey Bay is so deep, and it really draws in a lot of cool moisture. And then we have places like Paso Robles, which is down the valley, only about an hour, and heat naturally rises. And so within this beautiful Salinas Valley, on top of agriculture and us grapes here, it's perfect for this environment. So in the later part of the 70s, they settled here for a little while. They put 2 and 2 together, and he's like, yep, I want to plant my roots here. So they, for a couple of months, he actually traveled up and down the Santa Lucia Highlands, a little bit into Carmel Valley and so forth. And then he met Rich Smith, which is the owner of Paraiso, which is right down the street too. And Rich actually showed him this property that was for sale at the time. It was a working winery, but it was planted to 100% Cabernet vines. So prior to that owner, and prior to us, it was known as Smith Horse Ranch and Hook Cattle Ranch next door. So it was 2 separate families. And then they converted it into crab vines. And then when Nikki bought the property, we kind of put 2 and 2 together after a couple of vintages and realized Cabernet doesn't necessarily grow well here. And so we pulled it and started replanting to Chardonnay and Pinot. And still to this day now, it's 100% Pinot and Chardonnay. And now we own 4 vineyards in the Santa Lucia Highlands. And then we actually own another 2 vineyards in Arroyo Seco. So in total, we own roughly about 1,100 acres. 600 of them are right here in the Santa Lucia Highlands, and then the rest are on the valley floor in Arroyo Seco. So much different atmospheres, and gosh, it changes drastically. Pinot from our Lono vineyard tastes significantly different than the Doctor's, which is right over this hillside, which tastes significantly different on this higher elevation of Smith. And then when you get to Hook, which is basically right over there, there's a lot more wind exposure over there, and it's a lot more open. So all different textures of Pinot taste drastically different. And then when you bump that up to our Arroyo Seco Pinot, you've got heat and you've got powerful winds on that valley floor, and that's what really does a big difference for these cooler climate grapes down here. So that's the biggest difference for us in Monterey County overall. Places like Burgundy, Russian River, Sonoma, you have these cooler temperatures, but you don't have that big wind exposure. That's the biggest caliber for us. It's our biggest game changer, is that we play to the wind, and we let for us in Hahn, we let the Mother Nature work its course. So we don't try to fight against her. So with that, you can see our Lone Oak, our Smith, our Doctor's, and our Hook vineyard. Our Lone Oak vineyard is only about 9 miles from here, to kind of give you an idea. And then the Santa Lucia Highlands is just 1 AVA out of the, what, 10 total? 9, thank you, in Monterey County, and you visited one earlier. Always love paying tribute over there, so I'm really stoked that you actually went over to Chalone already, because goodness, they kind of helped put Monterey County on the map for us. I'm sure you guys all talked about the Judgment Paris tasting, right?
We didn't talk about the judgment. We will talk about the judgment after Hahn.
Okay.
That's right.
There was a tasting in Paris? What?
So number 3 up on there, yes. Chalone definitely made it a big deal for us in Monterey County. So you saw Chateau Montelena, I think it was a French wine, and then Chalone was number 3. So it was a big deal for Monterey County. And ever since then, and well, I wouldn't say all because of that tasting, but ever since then, vintners and growers started really holding back their fruit and started making things of it. And now it's this beautiful, diverse county of all these types of different agriculture environments, as well as benchmarks of grape growing regions. And now we're starting to get really popular and people love us. So with that, let's start going up to the fun stuff, because I know you want to see that rather than me talk. Can I